APIs or web scraping? If you're building high-throughput data systems, your choice could determine scalability, compliance, and reliability. Here's how to choose the right method without wasting hours on trial and error. When data access is officially supported, APIs are usually the first choice for engineers. Their structured design and predictable response formats make them ideal for stable pipelines. Advantages of APIs include structured access via JSON, XML formats, built-in authentication and token management, rate limiting to protect both ends of the connection. APIs are particularly useful in mission-critical environments where auditability and uptime are non-negotiable. However, you should also consider limitations, such as scope is controlled by the API provider, no undocumented fields. Rate limits can bottleneck high-frequency use cases. Costs can rise rapidly for scale or premium endpoints. So while APIs are cleaner and more predictable, you're dependent on the provider and their product roadmap. Web scraping gives you full access to publicly available data across the web, even if there's no API or if the API doesn't expose all data you need. Advantages of web scraping include extracting from any public site, no API required, targeting exactly what you need from any HTML element, bypassing API constraints when broader access is critical. This is extremely useful for workflows like price tracking across thousands of retail pages or gathering lead data from multiple web sources. But web scraping has its own limitations, including higher legal and ethical scrutiny, risk of being blocked or rate limited by IP, more engineering maintenance to handle DOM changes. Unlike APIs, websites don't come with guarantees. If the site changes, your scrapers break unless you've built robust monitoring and auto-healing workflows. You've seen the pros and cons. Now let's compare APIs and web scraping side by side to see how they really differ. APIs deliver structured data through predefined endpoints, but access is often limited. Web scraping pulls all publicly available information directly from web pages. API responses are structured and ready to use, while scraped data usually needs to be cleaned or parsed before it's usable. APIs are usually easier to implement thanks to standard documentation and formats. Web scraping setups are more complex, especially when handling dynamic or JavaScript-heavy sites. APIs are maintained by the provider and typically scale well with built-in tiers. On the other hand, web scraping requires regular updates and more advanced tools to scale reliably. APIs may start with free access, but large-scale use can increase costs. Web scraping starts off cheap, but often needs proxies, server time, and maintenance, which adds up. So when should you use APIs, and when does web scraping make more sense? APIs are the best choice when you need real-time structured data like travel APIs and stock feeds. You're integrating with third-party services like Stripe and Amadeus. You value stability, documentation, and compliance. For example, a fintech company can use the Twitter API to monitor real-time sentiment around financial tickers, stable, fast, and supported. When it comes to web scraping, it's the better choice when you're collecting data that's not available through APIs. You're collecting competitive intelligence across multiple sources. You need custom data extraction from specific web elements. For example, an e-commerce analytics firm can scrape product pages from over 60 retailers to track real-time pricing shifts, something that no API offers. So, how do you choose the right method for your project? Here are a few questions to ask yourself that might help you make the right decision. Is there an API for this data? If yes, use it. Is the API too limited or missing key fields? Scraping may be the better route. Do you need full control or wide coverage? Scraping wins. Do you want faster implementation and clean documentation? choose API. Also consider your team's expertise. Backend teams may prefer APIs, while scraping requires proxy routing, headless browsers, and error recovery logic. Whether you use APIs or scraping, make sure you read the site's terms of service. Avoid overloading servers or bypassing protections without consent. Implement proper rate limiting, IP rotation, and compliance workflows. Remember, you're not just accessing data, you're engineering trust and resilience into your stack. If you're architecting large-scale scraping systems, ethical and resilient proxy infrastructure is critical to performance. IPRoyal provides compliant proxy solutions and engineering guidance to help you scale responsibly. Contact our support team to see how we can support your scraping.